camp where they dumbed it down. I want it to cover not just one machine, but every one I use, everything I use. It's not as useful.
Oh, that's a different camp. Yeah. No, so
that's the camp I'm in.
That was the first. I met the guy who claimed to have made this feature, and I said, I said, dude, I have some questions for you, and he's like, here we go. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand what I'm going to ask. It's not what these other idiots are asking.
Less.
I said, this feature is useless to me unless I can get it everywhere.
Right.
I want this on all my computers. I want it to sync. And he goes, yes. And he goes, look, we will get there. But he says, we can't do that now. like you understand, like there's going to be pushback on this. I'm like, oh no, I get that. But what I'm saying is, I use a lot of different machines. Exactly. I want this on my phone.
It should be on the phone, your laptop, your desktop, your tablet.
You imagine you're in just a simple
your other laptop. Your other laptop.
Well,
that's our problem because
I do have dozens of devices, right. but just normal person stuff. I'm in a store and I'm buying a pair of socks or whatever.
You should know that.
Well, I researched this earlier on my computer. Could you tell me about the green socks I researched, and then I can go buy them?
Yeah.
Nope, because we're not crossing that machine divide. So
I sure the heck do that with one note loop.
Yeah, exactly. And there are ways around this, obviously, but I mean, ways around
apps.
Well, or just even like browser sync. I guess you could go try to find your history.
I mean, I've been using this in Melbourne, where I go look something up on Google Maps on this laptop, and then when I walk out the door with my phone and open Google Maps, the link that's showing for the next thing, the last thing you search for is what I searched on my laptop.
Exactly. And that's the way.
And you have to have that moment where you're like, it just worked. Like it literally, they're there.
Yeah. So recall's a little trickier because there was such pushback on it when it was first announced. We have to go through this. I don't know. I almost call it a triage phase. It's like we're just gonna have to endure it and see what happens. See if anyone actually uncovers some actual. The things I've seen so far that are recent are so stupid. It makes me want to scream. And when you brought up the iNet pub folder, I thought you were going to bring this up, and I was like, oh man, we're going to have to talk about this. And I'll just mention it very briefly. You have to have Windows Hello ESS enabled, which means biometric security. Except it doesn't completely mean that, because you also have to have a PIN. So you have to have a PIN. This is a requirement for any Windows computer that has a password of any kind.
Right.
It has to be a PIN. If you bring up a new computer, it doesn't matter what kind, a Windows computer, and you enroll your finger, your face, whatever, into Windows Hello, the next thing you do is you create a PIN. You can't get by that. You have to.
Right.
So one of the complaints was, well,
I got a PIN.
It doesn't even use biometrics. You can get in with a PIN. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but the same security still applies. The other thing, this was the most asinine one. They use all these incredible technologies, Windows Hello ESS, secure enclaves, isolated RAM, the whole thing, to protect these snapshots. And the guy goes, yeah, but, I mean, if someone gets the disk, it's just encrypted. I'm like,
that's fine.
What do you mean, it's just,
everything's on that disk anyway.
It's encrypted, is what you just said. Like, what are you talking about?
Just encrypted.
I can't, look, I'm not saying something isn't or can't go wrong with this. It's Microsoft. Obviously, we could have problems. What I am saying is no one has actually highlighted a problem, a real problem.
I think maybe that's it, is that, again, this comes down to I trust Microsoft.
Yes.
And so just the very fact that they're collecting all this information makes people nervous, because we don't know how secure it's going to be. But I am on the camp where you dumped it down to respond to those nervous Nellies, and now it's less than useful.
So as it turns out, they've also made it harder to use, because even if you're okay with using it on a single computer, and this is it's not just recall. It's just with the Windows Hello experience in Windows now, which I guess it's Windows Hello ESS, but I believe it's going to be the common experience across all computers. It requires an extra step now, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. So if you're in your computer and you're like, I need the password for this thing, and it goes, here you go, Paul. Oh, we got to see it, make sure it's you. And it's like, it's like, yep, it's you. I'm like, okay. How come we're not going? Oh, I got to click something?
Is it really you?
Are you human? Why am I clicking? You see, it's me. Do it.
Are you alive?
No, like an idiot. So
It's only a matter of time before we have to do captures to log into our computer. I guarantee you.
if you actually want to use recall, and if you are actively using recall, it is really annoying because that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
It's like you go through a subway, the door closes on you, and you're like, is it really you?
This is
Make sure.
recording everything that happens to me. I wish it could also record everything that happens on my computers. Send it all to whatever, the Russian AI, I don't know, the Chinese AI. I don't care. I just want to know what I did yesterday. Do you mind?
I know.
It's all I'm asking. So I
look,
really think the world is divided into these two camps, and will be increasing.
there will be people who never trust it. So, but
That's right.
that's
But there's people who never charge anything on the internet either because they don't think it's safe.
I don't actually mind that those people exist, right?
Just don't get in my way.
Yeah, but what I don't like is that they're the ones who will write articles and be like, well, you can't trust these people. And now, I'm making this up. I didn't see this there, but maybe in USA Today, there's like, hey, here's this new feature in Windows. You're going to want to make sure you're disabled. And they're coming from a place of ignorance, and they're preaching to people who don't know any better. And what are you doing?
They're just stirring up.
What are you doing?
Outrage.
Yeah, I don't
Because
like
it's good for views. Let's be honest.
I think it's cheap and it's unfair.
It's cheap.
And by the way, tomorrow there'll be a recall vulnerability. And by the way, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong on this point. It just means that nothing is perfect, and maybe this was always going to happen. I don't know. But the reason it's in preview now, the reason it was going to be in preview last summer, the reason they don't call it not a preview, right, is because of this. They want to get it out in front of people, and let's see how people use it. Let's see what happens. Because it's one thing to test it in some isolated group, small crowd, whatever. You got to get it out in the real world before you find out. That's one thing we have learned with Windows. You put it out in the world, and there's
What happens when you have a billion users?
all of whom go in a different direction and have different hardware. So we'll see.
All right, I need to take a break.
Yes.
Coming up, what do Microsoft Windows and Formula One racing have in common? Well, Microsoft support for enterprise. Then you're aware of. So 8 weeks, you're going to have an interrupt and the savings go on and on. Rules at a time, but in the long run, you can really save. It's common with Formula One, maybe not. Maybe you don't know. There's a big controversy in Formula One racing, which is a pretty intense sport. Those drivers are really the head of it passed a rule saying no swearing allowed. And if you swear, we're going to fine you. And if you do it 3 times, we're going to suspend you. Now, these are the superstars of racing.
I would have a problem.
It's a little hard to not swear when you're under such stress. Anyway, Microsoft's doing, well, they're not going to fine you, but they're going to help you.
Yeah, so apparently so many of us are talking to our computers so much, or to AI, and using them for whatever purposes, but we're getting these transcriptions, and it's not pretty for a lot of us.
I'm surprised just how mean, like this, if you were talking to a person, this is an HR violation. Like, why are you talking to software this way? It's kind of
I talk to myself
Siri.
this way,
She does not say, hey, you know who, stop. She uses the F word every time.
Because anyone who's used Siri has.
You're just mad.
And then she goes, you don't have to be a jerk about it. And it's like, you don't have to be an idiot either, but you are. I just...
Then you realize you're arguing with software. Like, how am I lying?
Listen, you got to get the little wins where you can. But this is 24H2 dev and beta build, so God knows when this will ever appear. But when you're doing voice typing in Windows, which could be anything, you could be dictating to a Word document, but really it's for AI. They're testing now a filter, a profanity filter.
So is it like cartoons swear them out? Is that what's happening?
I think it just takes it out. That would be hilarious, actually. It just go, they have like a little sound. It's like, what do you think about this? I think
That's what the Charlie Brown parents were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
All makes sense.
So I think that's pretty funny. That's fun.
Now, where does the filter, is it a filter for you, or is it a filter for, I don't understand what's
it's
being
for you.
filtered.
It's for voice typing, which could be globally in Windows.
Oh, so if you swear, it won't put a swear word into the
yeah,
type.
if you could be using accessibility features that you don't recognize.
Apple does that. They change every F word into duck.
Right. There's a setting now finally to
Makes me
reverse
really
that.
ducking mad. I just
So
gotta
in
tell
Windows
you.
13, they're going to have a filter to bring the profanity back.
Replace the ducks.
No, it's an option, right? So you actually have to turn this on. Like,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
It's,
So there's some people very offended, I know.
I think most of it, when I was a kid, the thing you would, the version of this is you would hear yourself on tape for the first time. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't sound like that. And everyone's like, yeah, actually, you sound exactly like that. And now, it's like, I don't swear that much. Like, yeah, you have a problem, actually. You might have Tourette's. I don't know. So, it just doesn't, this seems like a fine idea to me. I think
Yeah, that's fine.
that's fine.
It's optional. It's off until you turn it on. That's fine.
Yeah, one of the features that's coming out in the preview updates we now have in 23 and 24H2, and then will come out patch Tuesday, is a feature that Microsoft hasn't really given a name to, but it's improved Windows search. They briefly called it semantic search, or Windows search with semantic indexing, which I think is a really good term because it goes back to the conversation that Richard and I had about. It's not really indexing, but it is indexing. It's a different kind of indexing because you want instant search results. It can't it's not going to then go and scan all your files, right? It's building an index of some kind, right? So improved Windows search, for lack of a better term, which is a bunch of things, but built into search in Windows, whether you get it from the taskbar or the start interface, the thing is called search highlights interface, or from file explorer, right? Search for files, search for documents, search for photos, and then all documents that are in a cloud storage, but only OneDrive now, but in other cloud services in the future too. You need to sign in with a Microsoft account to get this feature for now. They've just started testing the ability to use a work or school account to get a tracking account. So you'll be able to do, I think semantic search to me seems like a great term, but this improved Windows search is coming, again, in the future, we don't know when, but sometime this summer, maybe 25-ish, whatever it is coming too. So the way they dribble this stuff out, this came up a little early in that Copilot Plus PC bit where Snapdragon tends to get these things first and then goes to x64. This one is the worst example. It's like every sub-feature of this feature has been tested like in different places at different times. It's very strange. So a year from now or something, we'll just have it everywhere and it will work fine. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
They can ship a thing called improved search every week.
Yes.
No version numbers, no features, just.
This is, I should say, is a Copilot Plus PC feature. You were asking about GPUs, and I raised the ugly possibility of CPUs, but why can't we do this kind of indexing? It doesn't matter if it's slow, and it won't be, but let's pretend it would be because we don't have an NPU. Who cares? It's the index, let it run overnight. I want the search result to be fast, right? It shouldn't matter how you build the index, but it's not how Windows works. So here's, if you didn't see this, Richard, you'll enjoy this. One thing we brought up repeatedly on the show is the illogical nature by which Microsoft tests new features for Windows in the Insider program. They have Canary, Dev, Beta, Release Preview. Yeah, they have multiple paths. It's in at least a few of those. Release Preview, for example, could have a Release Preview build of 23H2, 24H2, and Windows 10 all out at the same time. Someone asked online, as someone would, why? Well, A, what's the point of Canary? And B, why don't new features follow this logical cascade from the top to the bottom? So Brandon LeBlanc, who I've known for a long time, is a good guy. I'm not dumping on him for this, but unfortunately, as they both have Sauron in this case, says there hasn't been a specific order for a long time now. There isn't a progression like we had with rings. That's why we moved to channels. Features can and will show up in preview and dev and beta often before Canary, simply due to the way code flows on our side and the code base. So
This is basically, it's different teams with different workflows.
yeah, I don't know what to say to this. I just saw this right before the show started. So when I read this, I want to go back and read their announcement about moving to channels, right? Because I don't really remember it that way. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I do question it as a rationale. Like the one thing he doesn't say here is why. I mean, I guess he sort of does, but I don't understand.
How does it clear things up in any way? It just
That's what I mean. Like I don't quite understand.
It's really an admission of guilt. It's like you can't feel like there's any order because there is no order.
There's no order to this because there's no order in our universe. Like, well, okay. I mean, you know.
So it's like, yeah.
But
Windows Insider, 4 stages of entropy. That's all there is.
Oh, yeah. They're not racing down the same path. They're kind of just, blooming off into different directions. I guess. I don't know. So anyway, that's. I'm not dumping on Brandon. I like Brandon.
This is his response to Sean Endicott from Windows Central, who said, it does seem like the various insider rings are out of order.
Well, this is, in our world, this is the complaint. People will, and Richard has asked this question out loud many times.
Yeah.
We all wonder about this. Like, why have this system if you're not going to use this system? It seems like the right way to triage, to find bugs or whatever it might be, is to have it go through all of those channels in order and then hit stable and to have the greatest possible outcome of success.
And I just was looking for the political perspective that the folks who set up that order have moved on.
Oh,
and nobody took charge of it, and so it's whatever you have access to, you'll deploy.
Yeah, I see little glimpses of this, but I feel like a lot of the engineering has left the building, and sometimes that's not the case. I don't need to stump on the whole system, but 99% of it easily, and it doesn't feel like there is like an adult.
No. Well, it also speaks to what is Canary really.
Right.
Canary is really one team couldn't get out of any of the 3 existing channels, and so they made a new one.
And what's your peer review exactly? We don't know yet. We're working on stuff. I don't know. What do you mean? It's very strange.
I'm making the thing with the stuff, and I'm only allowed to, get my bonus if I ship, so I'm going to ship.
I mean, there's a point to be made that there's kind of accepted industry meaning for these things.
Well, this is what I've been saying. It's like words matter.
Yeah, words matter. Yeah, that's what you just said.
But they don't. In our world, they don't anymore, right? This is what I mean. Like, it's like why even use these names?
Because you do get to pick which one of these you want installed.
Yeah, you call Canary random uselessness, and then maybe it would make more sense because
I'd like to subscribe to that, please.
Yeah, it's like you never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates, except for all those little crazy cherry things no one wants. Like, but they have this exciting new feature over here in Dev. Well, join Dev, idiot. Yeah, we don't do that here. Yeah. We do stupid things here. I don't know, but that's not what they say. It is what they do. I don't know.
Well, and we were, back in the day, sold this idea that there are progressively less stable versions between these choices. Depending on your tolerance to instability, you can pick.
Right. That's right.
That
And
is
if you want to
simply
be
not the case.
It is everywhere else in our world.
Falk has been join us live talking about Mike Walls is what we think will be his new position as U.S. Ambassador to the UN. Social media is active throughout the broadcast at Mark Airman at WSB Radio.
WSB Atlanta, WSB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
Is your old AC unit ready for another sweltering Atlanta summer? Probably not. Hey, good news. Mark Aaron back from my friends who are reliable. Great new deal going on right now, guys. Any size AC, just $69.99 3 degrees right now in Midtown Atlanta. A little cloudy today, but we still got a decent day ahead of us. WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A woman is found dead in an apartment in northwest Atlanta, and police are now trying to figure out just how she died. They were called to the scene over a fire alarm on Pine Street.
This seems to be something electrical in nature. Our fire unit did ventilate the area, and that was the extent of our firefighting operation.
Atlanta Fire spokesman Andre Holmes says there was no actual fire, and he also says the medical examiner will determine the woman's exact cause of death. A resolution goes before the Atlanta City Council this afternoon as they seek changes in the State Patrol's pursuit policy. It comes after a police chase through Little Five Points that left an innocent driver dead, and it calls for a variety of changes like restricting high-speed pursuits to cases involving violent felonies. It also asks troopers to get approval from a supervisor before even starting a chase, along with restrictions on when pit maneuvers can be made in densely populated areas. That meeting is at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Atlanta-based Delta Airlines, among several other international carriers, once again suspending flights to Tel Aviv. It comes after a Houthi missile makes it through Israel's defense system, crashing into the grounds of Ben Gurion International Airport.
The missile evading Israel's multi-layered air defense system, crashing down in a grassy area not far from a crowded Terminal 3.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to hit back after at least 8 people were likely injured in shelter at that time. The Department of Education is set to start collecting debts on defaulted student loans starting today for the first time in more than 5 years.
Borrowers including encouragement to make these benefit collections. Bank rate consumer lending
2 cats too many. Thank you. Why don't we just do what I do? Put it on the Weather Channel. Take a shower.
that monkey doesn't scale, and slow content creation. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, there's no doubt that AI trained on the music of the world will create music that we like. You know, it will be similar. It will be nearly identical in some cases.
Yeah. Wonder
But
what.
of course they're gonna be able to, you know, this is like I said this about Call of Duty. Richard has been talking about this notion of using AI to create maps or open world environments where there's like an infinite number of quests and new characters and new things happening. And I think about it in terms of Call of Duty, and it's like, look, we have this body of work that dates back 20 years plus now. We know what multiplayer maps resonated with people. Feed it into the AI and say, what are these? And I gotta tell you, the problem with this is, as a user of this or a gamer, I hear that and I think, oh God, please do. You know, because some of the maps that humans are garbage. Yeah, they take a long time. You know, they don't scale. And then, you know, new Call of Duty comes out, and you're like, all right, you're ready, let's see what they got. And you're like, oh, 6 maps, that's all you got? Why can't Call of Duty launch with 150 maps? It will. You know? So this is outrageous. Right, this freaks me out. This is horrible. And
It's the way of the world. I mean,
it's absolutely the way everything's going to go.
probably the people who made, horseless carriages are probably, for a long time. In fact, there was a great blog post that said the original automobiles, steam automobiles, were designed to look exactly like carriages.
Of course. Just like all of Apple's UIs were meant to look like a felt, cover, game thing or whatever. And it's like, this is how people make transitions.
At some point, the buggy with manufacturers are going to have to find a new thing to make.
Right.
It's sad, it's bad, it's terrible, but it's the way of the world.
Let me ask you this. Why do you hate horses so much? Like, what's the...
Have you ever had a horse?
Yeah, yes, that thing could kill you by twitching its tail. It doesn't make any sense.
They're expensive. They poop everywhere.
They're mean. They have
They have
their own ideas.
Even if you have a sweet horse, it's not as easy as the thing in your garage.
That's right. It took a while to get there, but
It did.
I don't think anyone's aiming to go back. You know,
It's challenging. Look, nobody should lose their job ever. That's for so many of us. That's not just our
we don't. Right.
self-worth. That's how we live.
Nobody thinks about this. Like, so probably because it's our job. I mean, when all the Appalachian jobs from coal and steel and whatever else were going away, it's like, well, what are we going to do? Like, my family has been doing this for generations. I have kids and a family and a house and whatever, and I'm living in a place where now there's fracking occurring or whatever it is, and it's like, well, you should learn how to, write software code. Yeah, no, my life has prepared me for that path. And then, 2 seconds later, AI comes along. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do?
Thing we told you.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about building data centers? I mean, could you do that? Yeah, I don't know. There's no good answers here, but this Duolingo thing freaks me out because one of the things I'm going to do after I get off this show is go open up my app and curse to myself, and maybe Copilot can get rid of that later, and use this app that I hate so much. But it's also kind of inevitable, Yeah. It's brutal.
It's hard. It's really hard. I don't know the answers.
Right. The problem, there is no answer. That's the problem. The net goal here is that the impact of any technology will be positive in the long run for most, if not all people. It doesn't always happen. That's the goal. There's always going to be those short-term problems that no one wants to think about, because there is a way we're doing things now, and those jobs are going to go away.
I was in Sydney for the Melbourne Cup. That's as close as I got.
Well, on Run Ads this week, I talked to Carolina Carey, and this is the 4th show I've done with her. So I've started to follow her career for a while now, and she changed jobs. store in Melbourne, which I highly recommend. It's called the House of Wine. Because they used to do custom bottles of wine. The proprietor would say really switched to focus on whiskey and vodka.
This is super cool.
It's a nice place, and it's like a place you'd like to hang out at. Very enjoyable. And what's funny is I came in and Josh for the first time chatted for a bit. We were talking to a lady out of town, and I'm like, well, I need these whiskey bits. I'm looking for a whiskey for this week. And they literally came from upstairs down and said, what is this voice I'm hearing? You know, this giant radio voice. And then why don't you come back upstairs with me? And we went into his private collection. And started digging. He's a proper collector of whiskey, which is to say, it's all the different editions. So he had 30 or 40 years worth of different Lefroys. And then, like, this was the bottling in Japan, this is the bottling for this thing. This is when the licensing rules didn't allow for 750 mils, so these are 700s. There was a limit of a maximum of a liter, so this was 3 editions, each 333 milliliters, like that kind of madness, essentially. And, you know, it's always a challenge when you have someone who's really interested in whiskey sort of looking at your collection. It's like, what can I give you you've never had, or that is a new experience? And Jose pulled one on me I've never experienced before. I literally had to research it afterwards, and it was actually bad whiskey. But bad whiskey from good distilleries. So, and the ultimate example of this was it was a Scottish whiskey, a Glengower, 21. And he says, try this. Gives me just a half an ounce pour, a little tiny pour. Josh got one too. And I smell it, and it smells like dish soap.
And what wasn't this? Maybe it was the Whiskey Abbey.
Yeah, no, this is later in the story. But
Okay.
when I taste it, it's literally like having my mouth washed up by lavender soap. It was.
security issues for your organization at the time. Still, how is this even possible? And now we're seeing in Security Copilot what's actually going on, which is that it is an integration point for various security-related data sets. This particular show, Shore, who was part of the intro team, showed this because the intro team has now added an integration to Security Copilot specifically for evaluating the authentication security of internal applications. And this is awesome because if you think about any mid-sized business or even a larger one, there can easily be 100 internal or 1,000 internal apps. So answer the question, are they all using the current generation authentication? Which ones aren't? And the fact is, this is a tool that would lead you exactly to that. Here are the apps who do not have good authentication security in place. And so you can basically make a checklist of the worst problems in front of you right now that can get remedied the quickest. And start doing some triage around all that. So bit by bit, I keep going back to the Learn page on Security Copilot and seeing the integration list is getting longer. Not just different Microsoft teams, but also third-party integrations now as well. So there's more shows here for me to tap into. But it's starting to manifest this vision of exactly that persona, the part-time security person, not knowing what to work on next and having a tool to help them prioritize that list and get working on fixing it. But arguably, in some cases, and Ari talks about this, there's someone where you can literally hit the button and says, fix it for me. Enforce that security requirement. Require TLS 1.2. Like those kinds of features are emerging for this tool.
Very good. Run is Radio, episode 979.
Here we are. Location distance. 1,000.
That's amazing. Good job.
I don't know what I'm doing, honestly. I'm not running out of shows. That's not a problem. That's getting close to a problem.
No, but how to celebrate this? I have the same
celebrate
issue.
is
How do you
a
celebrate that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. Yeah. We're, as I mentioned, let me go back to this. As I mentioned, that's not what I wanted. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary on Sunday. And I didn't really know what to do either. We got Patrick, I think Patrick Norton's coming back. Kevin Rose sent me a note and said, I just got off the plane. I went to Switzerland and London to Stockholm, and now I'm going to Sweden, and then I have to go to Santa Fe. So I'm busy. Wow. I said, you're doing, well, it's like a big shot now, right? So I said, sure, no problem. You're doing great. Thank you. We're going to have a good show anyway, because Patrick will be there, one of the originals, along with Samuel Samet, who's our car guy, been with us for a long time. And a good person to celebrate on over time, also from this week, remember. So, and most importantly, videos from our fans that have been fantastic. So keep sending them. It's not too late. I want to just, celebrate our audience, because that's really what makes all of our shows exist. It'd be silly for me and Richard and Paul to get together once a week and just talk to each other. That'd be weird. Damn it. I know. But thanks to you, we have an excuse. So we're going to celebrate that. That'll be this Sunday. Now, maybe you could recommend a little something, a beverage, a quaff to go along with it.
So we'll call this the MVP collection, because coming into the MVP Summit, I have been given a lot of whiskey. 6 or 7 bottles.
Is this a tribute thing? What happens there?
I don't know. I think people listen to the show, they really like the whiskey bit, and so knowing they were going to see me at the MVP Summit, they literally asked, can I bring you a bottle?
Oh, you are
sure.
That's awesome.
So
People
this is one of
great.
them. This comes from my friend Charlotte. She refers to it called Lottie, and it's called the Heart Cut. And Lottie's not a whiskey expert, but her brother is in an adjacent business in London, and so wanting to get me something unusual, he achieved that with the Heart Cut. Now
I see it's mostly gone now, by the way.
We all drank it together.
Okay.
It's only
must
a
have been
500 ml bottle. It's a smaller bottle. It's quite little.
Yeah. Sure.
So
It's not it's the bottles that got small. I understand.
Yeah. This comes from a distillery called the East London Liquor Company. So this is in the East End of London, which is literally an area defined almost 2,000 years ago as the east side outside the Roman walls around Londinium.
Wow.
And today, the eastern edge of that was further changed when in 1066 in the Battle of Hastings, and then the White Tower gets built, which is now known as the London Tower, is now that east edge of that wall. So that's 1078 is when the tower goes up. So the east side has been, the east end has been the east end for a long time. North of the Thames, but east of the walls. Now we're talking a little bit more contemporary time. The East London Liquor Company is on the Regent's. It's actually on the Hereford Union Canal, which you go up the Regent's Canal to get to by Victoria Park. It was created by a fellow by the name of Alex Wolpert, and Alex Wolpert is a former actor and producer. And while he was an actor, he was also a bartender because he liked to eat, and so became enamored of cocktails, and ended up opening his own restaurants and bars. And in 2014 decided to expand one of his bars to have a distillery in it, a small one, but right away making gins and vodkas, is that's how you make money. You can produce very quickly. It took a few years to actually get to whiskey making. The stills are very small, a 2,000 liter wash still, 650 liter Holstein style hybrid still, very small. But because he was deeply connected to the bar community of London, this is where he sold this stuff. And today he does make a single malt made out of barley out of Norfolk. He tends to use a mixture of spring and winter barley, so barley would be harder and higher protein counts. And he does a couple of his own barrelings, including a version that's currently laid up in Islay barrels. We don't know exactly which one. But you can also get your own casking if you care to. It's about 3,500 pounds, and you can get a casking in a bourbon cask for yourself and get a couple hundred bottles from it. But this particular edition I have here is one of only 344 bottles. But it's actually derived from his whiskey known as London Rye, which is 55% rye, 45% barley, fairly common. The original edition released in 2018. But this bottling was not done by East London Liquor. It was actually done by a third party called Drinks One. And so Drinks One is based in London, and they select barrels and various alcohols from various cellars to create a select group. And that's what this is. So it's from the East London Liquor Company, but it was actually produced by Drinks One, and in this case they barreled it in Hackney Brewery chocolate stout casks.
Oh my
So the Hackney Brewery, again, a local London brewery making their own beers. They make a very sturdy stout, and so this was aged for about 4 years in these stout casks. And so look at the amount of color that comes in that for such a young whiskey, 3-4 years old.
Looks
And again,
so good.
Only 344 bottles. I don't know if there's any left. It comes in about 50% alcohol, about 60 pounds, about $75 US. And it's
But you won't be able to find it if there's only 344 bottles.
Very,
Yeah. There he goes. He's
the reason
drinking.
there's 344 bottles.
I'm so jealous. Lottie,
Yeah.
you did good.
Yeah, it's because there's only 500 ml bottles, so they actually got far more from what they would typically get from a cask.
So that's a single cask.
Single cask.
Does it taste like rye whiskey at all, or did
it definitely has that rye spice to it, the bang of being rye forward, and then but it's got that chocolatey, like literally makes your mouth salivate of a stout, right? Like a Guinness or a very strong dark beer is right there on the tongue. So you're a little confused because you thought you were drinking whiskey, and yet you still kind of got that creamy, rich feel from the beer.
I'm just confused. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, but it's delightful. And so when it was brought to me, when Lottie and a few other friends came up and stayed in the boathouse before we all went down to the airport to supper together, so we drank this together, and I thought I'd say a little for you all. But by just sitting off frame here, some of the other whiskeys, like this is a Tasmanian. This one's a Hawaiian. Who knew? So I'm researching them now for later editions, and the Summit was very, very good to me.
You can't buy it in the U.S. I've been trying to buy it. website, but it won't let me buy it.
They're not going to deliver to the house.
Yeah, I think they're not alone anymore.
I feel alone.
I feel alone. We Brexited.
Brexited the world.
Brexited the world.
Oh boy.
Wow, that really you made my mouth water. That was really
It's
good.
happening to me too, and I had a taste.
Yeah, wow, very nice. Nice job, Lottie, and all the others.
I'm
can
going
always-
to call everyone out. The one I did a couple of weeks ago, they kept me spears from it's the Belgian peanut. Yeah, I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. That was from my friend Hans. It was also on Peter Swipe. That was great. But the other two that I'm going to talk about will have come from the MVP Summit, so I'll definitely call them.
Gifts for the MVP Summit.
Yeah.
It's a new series we're going to start on YouTube.
Yeah, a couple of the others were ones I've already talked about in the past, like the
Connector still seeing some volume, 7585 northbound University Avenue, but breaking free once you get up toward Freedom Parkway and Peachtree Pine Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Cloudy for today with a few more isolated rain showers, high near 70, lows tonight in the low 60s. Tomorrow mostly cloudy with pop-up showers and a few rumbles of thunder, high 79. Friday mostly cloudy, high 76.
Right now it's 63 degrees in Beaufort, 64 in College Park, and 63 in Midtown. More news at noon, breaking news when it happens. I'm Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB. The papal conclave is underway. 132 cardinal electors, the most of any conclave. What does it mean for over 1 billion Catholics worldwide and Catholics here in Atlanta?
Way over there for the smoke.
For breaking news, the details, and what it all means to you, stay with 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Friendship. No, I just want to be friends with you.
President Trump took executive orders yesterday after his meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada coming up with the White House and the Vatican. All that next on the Mark Air Show.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelley Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for the Car Guys with Kevin Joyce from Bubba Lexus in South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, and know about cars. We will cover Saturday noon to 1 right here on 95.5 WSB. As Georgia's homegrown leader in business insurance, Miller's partners with thousands of local businesses to safeguard workers and help them return to their lives after injuries. Explore reliable workers' compensation solutions at BLVRS.com. Builders, insurance, see us immediately. If you don't see results on the first visit, then there's no charge. Many of our patients have medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and prostate problems. I'm happy to say that we have 98% success rate with all our patients. Our customized solutions will allow you to perform within 10 minutes and last an hour and even longer. You can regain your love life and tackle your ED and PE problems. Guys, your partner will never complain again. Our clinic has the most affordable prices when you visit other clinics, and you're not completely satisfied, then you need to call Choice Health. Regain your love life regardless of your age or medical history. Choice Health guarantees results on your first visit. Are you ready now? That's 400-1170. Want to game with your family? Fine. Want to game with your every time. They think you're here with the perfect match for your roof. Energy roofing. Roof guys. That means expert experts with upfront pricing, exceptional service, and they'll treat your home like it's their own. Win, win, win. And the family, manners matter. And they also have 0% financing available. Get your free roof quote at MidwayRoofing.com. You get hurt. You don't want to end up on the injured list. You want to get back in the game, stronger than ever. And Morgan & Morgan, you're the home run hitters you need. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Visit ForthePeter.com for help.
of Signal was that its use would be inherently a violation of the Presidential Records Act because the U.S. Vice President, whose communications are covered by the Act, was a participant in those group chats. The Act, which dates from 1978, requires that permanent records be retained of all official presidential and vice presidential communications. And as we all know, Signal's entire end-to-end encrypted messaging claim to fame is that it is specifically designed so that does not happen. There's a company called Telemessage, whose executives appear to be Israeli. This company is owned by another company called Schmarsh. S-M-A-R-S-H. Schmarsh. Okay. It really instills confidence. Schmarsh makes some software designed to assist law enforcement and lawyers who need to search through massive archives of data. I was curious to poke around Telemessage's website to confirm some facts and learn a bit more, but it appears that all of the links off of its homepage have been neutered. It's telemessage.com, telemessage.com. I presume that I could have pursued this over at the Web Archives Wayback Machine, but I have a podcast to produce, and I have no doubt that there will be plenty of others whose job is to do that, and who will report more. I don't want to spend that much time on this. However, what I can say with sufficient confidence, given the very clear reporting based upon the source code archives that have been obtained, which is corroborated by what Telemessage's web home site does still say, is that Telemessage is in the business of modifying various open source applications such as Signal, WhatsApp, Telegram, and WeChat for the express purpose of adding to them long-term message archiving. In the case of the U.S. administration, Mike Waltz and Signal, the photo that was captured of Mike Waltz's iPhone during a widely covered all-hands-on-deck cabinet meeting last week clearly showed Waltz being prompted to enter his PIN into an application called TM space SGNL, as in Telemessage Signal. For anyone who's curious, I have a picture at the top of page 20 of the show notes that shows in a little inset the picture that was taken by a Reuters photographer, and that it was apparently taken with an extremely high resolution because it was then possible to zoom in on the phone, which Mike is holding down below the conference table, sort of, in order to check his messages surreptitiously. And we can see that he's being prompted for his PIN on the screen. So one of the things that's interesting to me is that the others who have been participating in these group chats, and this is exactly to your point, Leo, have almost certainly been using the regular Signal network. We know for sure that the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg would have just been using Signal. The explanation for this is that the modified TM Signal app is reusing the same Signal server infrastructure. In other words, it is Signal, but it's Signal with a difference. And the difference is precisely the one we've often talked about as being the reason why having conversations strongly end-to-end encrypted is not the entire battle. Because encryption is only applied to the conversation in transit. Nothing that's sitting on the user's handset is encrypted. So there's nothing to prevent either malware or modified messagingware from capturing the conversation before it's encrypted and after it's been decrypted. So just how big a problem is Mike Waltz's use of this telemessage signal? It's impossible to say. It's predictable that the press will likely go into a feeding frenzy over this, And it goes without saying that people's opinions about this will be based more upon their political ideology than technology. Our only business here is to look at the technology. And in this case, the question is, how secure is the end result? Where do the captured messages go? Where are they being stored, and how securely are they being kept? 404 Media, an outlet we've quoted here in the past, is screaming with the headline, quote, "The signal clone the Trump admin uses was hacked," unquote, which I don't know that is true, with the subhead, "Telemessage, a company that makes a modified version of Signal that archives messages for government agencies, was hacked." Okay, now maybe that's more true. We know that the headline, could often be more than clickbait, and we also know that the term hacked has lost virtually all of its meaning because it could mean anything, but presumably something bad happened. Again, since I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast will be encountering this news this week, what 404 Media wrote is worth sharing. And they did some good fact-finding as well. They posted...
Yeah, you should. Just so you know, they don't throw around the word hacked willy-nilly. These guys, this Joseph Cox and others. Joseph, I think, came from Motherboard Advice. Several came from Motherboard.
And they did a bunch of verifying.
They have turned out. This has become one of the best tech-savvy blogs out there. They really know what they're talking about.
And that's what we're going to see.
I would trust them if they use the word hack.
Yeah. So they said 404 Media has learned that a hacker breached and stole customer data from Telemessage, an obscure Israeli company that sells modified versions of Signal and other messaging apps to the U.S. government to archive messages. The data stolen by the hacker contains the content... Now, again, listen. The data stolen by the hacker contains the contents of some direct messages and group chats sent using its Signal...
Everyone's married, everyone has kids, except for my youngest brother. He'll be having kids soon, I think. He's married, happily married. I think the turnaround when I was a teenager really helped a lot of the family, kind of figure out how to communicate with each other. Because before then, communication was like zero. And the ability to communicate openly and freely and talk about things without fear of retribution and information, I think did that. And so, that everyone's extremely successful there. Some work in the medical field, some are engineers, some, they're just, I guess we're also blessed with intelligence, so everyone has great jobs. Yeah. We have like, I think my parents have 9 grandkids.
Wow. And how are your relationships with your in-laws?
Oh, yeah, not the best. Oh boy, that's a good question. So, my wife's parents were and so my wife's from China. And it's relevant because of the one-child policy, and she was the first.
Sorry, you mentioned Caribbean. Are you black and she's Asian?
No, let's say white Hispanic.
White Hispanic. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and she's Chinese. Both Catholic, so there's that.
Okay.
But anyway, so one-child policy, being born, firstborn daughter, effectively means you're kicked to the side. And then, they tried for the second one. Luckily for them, for her parents, it was her brother, I guess, a son. And so my relationship with her parents, we really don't spend time with them. I see them maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years, and that's about as much as we both can handle.
Why's that?
It's so the treatment that my wife got when she was growing up, she was thrown to the curb,
backroads for half a world, right?
They live in America as well, but they.
Oh.
Yeah. But still.
So why don't, I mean, do they just not visit because they don't care, or they're not connected, or?
It's been very clear. So I'll give you an example. So when my wife gave birth, it's customary for the first 30 days, some very special Chinese cuisine has to be made. And I said, well, I have no problem bringing your mother over as an employee, and she can cook for you, she can clean for us, and she'll. Sorry, I want to treat her
as an employee.
Yeah. I'm happy to treat her as an employee.
I don't know what that means.
Effectively, she's here to do a job. She's here to cook the food that.
Well, like a maid, right? Not a cook.
Yeah, exactly. And if she wants to do that, I'll consider it. I'll consider it good that she's here to help you, like actively help you. And so while she's here, she does a great job. She's a hardworking person, the mother. Hardworking person, cooks well, cleans, does everything she wants to do, and she wants to work and clean, etc. And then when it comes time to it's Chinese New Year, so maybe it's time for me to go back. I'm just like, are you nuts? Like, you've been here for like 2 weeks. You want to leave already? Did you want to spend time with your grandkids? Don't you want to get to know them? You don't spend any time with them, right? So where are you with this? Like, this is me thinking to myself. So I talked to my wife about it. My wife was obviously not happy about it. Her wanting to leave already, and I'm like, well, we knew this is how she treats you. She doesn't value you as much as she needs to. So it's time for her to go. So I'm like, all right, just get her a ticket. And then the funny thing is, when we bought her a ticket to leave to go back, to go back north, she's like, actually, maybe we should change that. Maybe I do want to spend some more time. And I'm like, no, you already made your feelings clear. You're leaving. I'm taking you to the airport. And maybe that's right. Maybe I don't know. You told me. Maybe that reaction is a little harsh, but.
Well, why did she? What was your instinct about why she wanted to?
She wanted to leave because maybe her son was coming back from China, possibly, and maybe her husband was coming back from China, possibly. I'm like, but they're not. It's not even 100% sure. They don't have the flights yet. What are you doing? And my instinct is that, and I'm pretty sure this is what's going on. That she cares a lot more about her son and her husband than she cares about her daughter. And I'm like, well, if that's true, then that's fine. No one's forcing you to care about, your daughter. But we don't have to have you in our lives either. Right.
Yeah,
So.
it's a funny thing how little people understand the fierceness that fathers have in particular towards their children, and in particular daughters, I suppose, maybe a tiny bit more. And I was very much this way too. Like, if you don't particularly care about my daughter, you're completely expendable in my life. Like, if she's like, if she's not, I'm not obviously saying you're gonna have the same feelings, but I was enamored, fascinated, and loved the whole process. And if my friends were like, oh yeah, cute kid, and then they wanted to go on to something else, it's like, no, we're not in the same place, man. Like, we're just not in the same place.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. I had a whole scrub fest of people, particularly the sort of narcissistic, selfish bachelor people who were just like, yeah, that's cool, man. Hey, and then they just go into some topic or whatever, right? Or they hold your kid like she's some sort of bomb or something, like it just like, no, come on, man, lean in, right? I got a great kid, and she's really fascinating to me, and she's a lot of fun, and she's wonderful, and spend some time playing with her, get to know her. Like, it's sort of like if you get a wonderful woman in your life, and your friends are like, yeah, I just want to see you, man. And it's like, no, you can be my wife, man. You gotta lock in, or you're gonna be toast.
That's funny because I love to bring my oldest everywhere. I always ask her, hey, do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? And she almost always says yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, so things take longer, but who cares?
Right.
Just we go to the hardware store. We're gonna go pick up this, and I tell her, hey, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, and she always says, can we do one more thing? I'm like, okay, what would you like to do? I don't know, just drive around.
Oh,
Okay.
when your kids want to spend time with you, like, I mean, last night my daughter had a pretty big day yesterday for various reasons, and last night she was like, hey, let's go for a walk, and I'm like, yeah. You know, when your kids, especially if she's 16 now, right? So when your kids really want to spend time with you, man, that's just a great thing.
100%. And that's kind of I've really noticed that. That's kind of I've been mulling this over, this kind of issue over too. But we could jump to that topic next. So you know how there's only 24 hours in a day.
I do know that, yeah, sadly.
I find that to be a big problem in my life for some reason. And it's not a problem that I can fix, obviously. So
No, I'll fix it for you. What do you need? How many hours do you need? I'm on it.
Oh god, yeah, I need another 10 at least.
Yeah.
And it always feels like I'm playing catch up. When, I mean, objectively, I have two great daughters. Maybe we're definitely gonna try for a third. And if we're blessed with a third, great. If we're not, it's okay. But I have my career and gone great. You know, I was the guy that, by the way, that I was working at a place, and then I started my own consulting business, which was going great, and then landed me this great position at this accounting firm. I don't know if you remember the chats going back and forth, but I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And so that my career's going great. I have a big, let's say less than 100 acres, but more than 50-acre farm that I manage. My dad now is managing for me. So I got a lot of things done. I do car racing. I have a small YouTube channel I do on the side. Very, very hobby. Very, very hobby-like. So I have lots of great relationships, friends that I talk to basically every day, and extremely intelligent people. And my wife is just the absolute best. But I always have this nagging feeling in the back of my head. It's just like, you're not doing enough, do more.
Now, but more of what? Is there a particular topic?
No. So an example is I need to spend more time with my daughters. So I go, and my oldest daughter especially, she's just like, hey, I'm doing my own thing, leave me alone, kind of thing.
Right.
Like she's playing with a toy or something, because I'm always, whenever she's around, I'm like, oh, what do you want to play with? Let's play with this. Let's go hang out. You want to watch? Let's watch, watch excavator videos or car video, whatever she wants to watch. Excavator. Explain to the excavator. We bought an excavator recently. Oh, let's go on the excavator. I'll teach you how to maneuver and say, obviously it's off for safety, but that kind of stuff. And eventually she's like, okay, I'm gonna go do my own thing now, right? So I need to do more. I need to hang out with her. She's like, no, I'm good. Like, let me be here for a minute, kind of thing. And then other times it's just like, well, okay, so then I have to work on the farm, and I a couple of days ago I completely renovated I have a big skid steer. I don't know if you know what that is.
I really don't, but I feel the explanation is going to put some hair on my chest, so go for it.
So it's technically a track loader. So it's a big construction machine with a big, usually a big, what are they? It's not a shovel. It's a giant bucket. It's a big bucket that's effectively a big shovel in front of it. It weighs 12,000 pounds. Big diesel machine. Get into it. It's 2 joysticks, and you move dirt around with it. And you could also have a big mower on it and stuff. And so it requires some maintenance. So 3 days ago, I took the whole thing apart, cleaned every bit out of it, and power washed it, and all crazy stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving on to the next thing. So just nonstop working and doing something and being productive. And part of the reason why I'm actually calling you is because I'm challenging myself this year to have every week have one phone call with somebody that has affected my life in the last 15 years that I haven't spoken to in a while. You were on that list, right? And so I'm just doing all these things, and having a skid steer, I did my parents' foundation with skid steer. I run power lines and I run water lines with my excavator. And I have crazy projects that I've executed on and done great on. And again, I do car racing stuff. I race at Sebring, I race at Daytona, I race at all the great racetracks around the United States. I have done less of that in the last 2 years because of my daughter's being born, but I do plan to get back to it.
Well, and your daughter's also needing a husband who's not a smear on a track.
Right.
A father who's not a smear on a track, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't do like door-to-door racing. We do time trials, so it's not you're not racing against other people. It's
Yeah,
just wasting
but there's still
time.
gravity and momentum, right? You don't want to end up like that guy from 90210, right?
Yeah. No, and I actually did have a crash. Now that I think about it, this is back in 2019. I had a crash, but anyway. So I'm doing a lot less of that. So it's still in the back of my head. I'm always every day. I almost have to ask myself for permission to rest. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, this is crazy to me that I'm doing that. Because I think objectively, I don't know if you agree, but I think objectively, I'm doing okay.
Yes, you are. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, family's working well, your relationship is working well, and your career is working well, and your health is good. It sounds like so. I think to ask for more is just starting to get greedy.
Right. So shake it out of me. I don't know how.
Well, no, shake it out. That is not going to answer much for you, right? The question is, so when you feel like you have to do something, the question is not why do you have to do things. The question is, what do you feel if you don't do things? Right, that's
anxiety.
Well, okay, so what do you feel when you don't do things?
So when I sit down on the couch, I call them wife mandated relax time.
Yeah,
where she
yeah.
says, she takes me to the side, like, hey you,
Slow down, right? I'd like you to be around for the long haul, so yeah, for sure.
yeah, hey you, sit there, relax. So I ask her, hey, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? And she's like, you can help me by sitting down and relaxing.
Yeah, no, I do it. My wife has the same approach. Stop doing stuff, stop trying to help. Just work hard, relax. Right?
Yeah. That's when I'm sitting there. Not every time, but often. I feel like dread, like I'm missing out. Like damn it. Like it was especially bad when I lived up north. Oh, let me explain. This might help. So when I was up north, I basically up north, I felt like there was effectively maybe 3 weekends a year that were good weather, not rained out from the week before raining, so it's not muddy. Free and available, right? There's no plan, like birthday or something. That 3 weekends a year that I can get something done outside, right? Work on a car.
I grew up in England. I know what you're talking about.
Right? And I'm just like, so it's less of it. There's a lot less of it now where I'm currently living. But it's still that, like, man, if I don't get this done today, am I ever gonna get it done? Right? Like, there's like dread. It's like, oh my god, if I don't stand up and like go and fix that one thing, I'll never fix it. It's like, oh, that light bulb went out. I gotta go like change the light or something. It's like, if I don't do it right now,
Never happen.
Right. It's just like, but it's like, when it's one or two things, it's like, okay, that's fine. But it's like everything, all at once, tsunami of like, you have to do everything now. When I go sit down and get the wife mandated relax time.
Yeah. So then the question is, where does it come from that you have to do things now, right? So the typical example, and this is something, because you're still a relatively young man, you're not at the age where you see the price of people's workaholism and stress. Like, I now am of the age where I see the price of people's workaholism and stress. Right? I mean, it's not pretty at all. So,
Do tell.
well, I obviously, I don't want to sort of get into details of people that I know, but there are health issues that come out of workaholism and stress that are brutal. Like, they're constantly, like, so it's the old thing, it's like, when you can get things yeah, you can get things done. Absolutely, you can make yourself do things, and you can be busy all the time, right? Absolutely. And then you'll get sick from stress and not relaxation. Like, have you ever trained? Yeah, I mean, you obviously trained for your car racing, car stuff. But have you ever trained for like heavy duty athletic stuff?
Yeah. I was at a varsity crew.
Right. Okay. So what happens if you train for 8 hours a day, every day?
Oh God, your muscles effectively.
Well, you die. I mean, you don't die, but I mean, you're
ineffective.
Well, yeah. You just pull muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need your rest days. Otherwise, you can't. You could have. So you can make yourself do stuff, and you can be like, I've got to get something done all the time. But that's it really does kill your productivity. Now, it may not do it in the short time. It may not even do it for years. But at some point, there's going to be a price to be paid.
It's funny you say that. So you just woke up some memories that I don't think about. But I remember times where I've done this, nonstop work, do something, and there comes a time where I wake up and I'm like, I cannot physically do anything anymore today.
Yeah. And sometimes that happens in a benevolent way, like you just get tired. Other times, you just get sick. Like your body will make you rest, one way or another. Like, it's the old thing, like the old mafia thing, like we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way, right? And that's what rest is like as a whole.
My 6 months of consulting work that I did.
Right. Yeah, because if you're very confident, then you get huge amounts of work, and then you feel overwhelmed, and then you start to get resentful, and you start to get annoyed, and yet you can't give it up because you've got all these obligations. Like the person who takes the obligations very seriously ends up getting a lot of work and ends up with too many obligations and no longer feels free, and then resents everything. So yeah, preserving your joy in your work is the most important thing when it comes to productivity. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, because confidence brings obligations, brings a feeling of enslavement and entrapment.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone talk about preserving the joy in your work. That's profound to me, at least.
Oh yeah, no, I will, and I feel even more of a responsibility, because it's like, I mean, the work that I do is serious, right? I mean, it's like designed to save people's lives and make the world a significantly better place and all that kind of stuff. So I take it very, like, having to preserve the joy is a very serious business, if that makes, it's kind of a weird paradox. I cannot afford to not enjoy my job. Sounds like a really complicated, confusing kind of contradiction, right? But I really can. I mean, it's not like there's a bunch of other people who could do what I do, and so I really do have to. I really, really, really have to preserve that kind of happiness. That's essential. So yeah, I hope that and your job is important for you, and I'm not sort of trying to say, well, my job's important, yours not, right? But it is very important to you, and it is how you provide for your family and your kids and all that. So you have to preserve that pleasure, and that means it has to stop having to be chosen. You're doing it because you want to, because you find meaning and it's a value and so on. So yeah, you lose that, man. Then life just becomes a slog. And so people end up with a lot of obligations because they're really good, and they're really good because they take stuff super seriously. And again, there's nothing wrong with taking stuff seriously,
free, right? But I'm obviously not. I'm so good at it that people want to pay me a lot of money for it. But there's certain aspects I'm just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire someone. I have free range to do so. Whenever I feel like, okay, this needs to be done, I hate doing it, I'm hiring someone for it. If that's the roadmap. Love it. This is very impactful.
Good, good. Well, it sounds like we had a productive old chat. I guess I'll catch you in a decade.
I did have after that such a deep conversation there, the last question I had written down for you.
Yeah, come
came
on.
after. So like I said, I have a 2-year-old and almost 3-inch, then I have a newborn. And after COVID, the whole vaccines and trusting the medicine, etc., that's just gone completely out the window. And so I interviewed.
Look at that, brother.
I know. I interviewed, I don't know, 7, probably 8 different medical doctors before we chose our pediatrician. And our pediatrician's actually amazing. He's good. He's into crypto. He's pretty good. And he helps in choosing, okay, how do we do the vaccines, etc. He admits that, well, I don't know enough to tell you when you should take it, which vaccines exactly you should take. I'm just giving recommendations. What he does say is like, you guys make the choice, and I'll help you through it. And he tells me exactly what's in it, what's not, why it's important. But I still struggle to figure out which vaccine to do what. And you tell me if I'm thinking about this the right way. The way I'm thinking about it is, well, if I were to explain to my daughters when they're 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 20, that hey, this is what we do with your vaccine schedule. We reduce them significantly. We push, instead of having you take 4 or 5 of them every 2 months, which is ridiculous to me. We chose the most important ones, right? First 6 months, and then until you became 6 months old, we didn't allow anybody to be around you. Or the risk, not very risky when it comes to that. But then we pushed a lot of things back, and we keep all of them. Exactly why. It's just impossible. And I'm sitting here, I'm reading scientific abstracts on different studies on vaccines, and I'm like, gosh, can I just there's no other resource that I can find to tell me like which to take, which not to take. And I almost feel like, well, am I making the right decision? Like, I'm not doing this one. What if she ends up getting whatever, not diphtheria, but one of these diseases? Like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? So I don't really have any thoughts on.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is not just that Chris Patel's in the FBI, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in. So I'm sure you know the history of this, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. demanded to know if there had been sort of double-blind experiments or, combination safety tests on this, like, what is it, 70+ vaccines that they're trying to jam in kids. And, I mean, you can't test that in any reasonable way. So he ended up suing, and I think that they finally admitted, yeah, we don't have, a whole bunch of double-blind experiments. We don't have any of that kind of stuff with regards to these things. So I don't know the answer. I mean, obviously, vaccines is one of these topics that is so upsetting as a whole, just for me. Because, like, if it turns out that vaccines have a relationship with autism, and something sure as hell does, because there were no autistic kids around when I was a kid, and as I mentioned before, you can't find descriptions of autism throughout human history. It is something that is in the last couple of decades has just gone through the roof. One of the most corrupt, vicious, and evil aspects of society as it stands is that people aren't moving heaven and earth to figure out what the living hell is going turns out that the vaccines has something to do, like the escalated vaccine schedule has something to do with autism. I can't even tell you. I can't tell you in any public forum the kind of punishments that I would like to see meted out at people who might have suppressed this, if it turns out to be the case. But it would be like Old Testament Japanese POW stuff.
I'm right there with you.
So I don't know. Hopefully, when RFK Jr. is in, he is going to find ways to get this information.
That's what it is, man. There's no information. It's like you can't trust it. Obviously, you can't trust it. And then so I'm just following up. Basically, I looked up the 1984 vaccine schedule, and it's like they do tuberculosis the first month, nothing until the 6 months, and then 6 months is like one shot of like 3 different
MMR, right? 6 months.
Yeah. And then again in a year, right? But now it's like the first day, it's like they want to inject them with like 8 things. I'm like, okay, no.
Well, I mean, some stuff that you get from sexual contact and drug needles is like, I'm pretty sure newborns are a low risk category for that stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, it is. I don't know the answer. I am incredibly suspicious at the lack of, like, if you look at the amount of resources that you mobilize for COVID, like society lost its shit over COVID.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, I'll make this, you know, Alpha was a nasty bug, and I get all of that, right? But if you look at the amount of resources that were mobilized over COVID, and then you compare that with the kind of resources that are being mobilized to find the cause of autism,
Oh gosh.
I mean, it's completely opposite. Now, of course, the cynic would say that, well, they lost their shit over COVID because they made hundreds of billions of dollars. And because they're making hundreds of billions of dollars off vaccines, and they're not particularly interested in finding the cause. Like, my belief is that the cause is known but suppressed, and it's known but suppressed for money. I don't know what the cause is, but I believe it's known. So when people aren't looking for stuff, it's because they already have it.
Yeah.
So I think that the cause of autism is probably known somewhere. I'm not saying I know what it is. Obviously, I, like everyone, have their suspicions, but I think the cause of COVID is known. Sorry, the cause of autism is known. It is just suppressed for money. And of course, when people look at COVID, they say some intensely illegal stuff was done for the sake of money and power. It should not be too shocking for us to do. And so with regards to vaccines, the fact that there's not this massive societal effort to find the cause tells me that the cause is probably known. You know, like if I've got a grandfather who buried a bunch of bodies in his backyard, and I say, hey, I want to go plant some stuff, he'll be like, no, don't, it's, you know, don't do it, right? And like, he'll get pretty aggressive because he knows where the bodies are buried. He doesn't want me digging around. And I think the same thing is true of something like autism or, you know, just the general ill health. Like, there's all this measles outbreak. It's like, there's a couple of cases that people are saying, and rightly so, like to the media, like, why aren't you talking about diabetes and obesity among children? Because like that's like compared to measles, that's the big risk. And so, yeah, so the fact that you've got a system that makes money off chronic illness and is paid for by the government rather than out of people's pockets, private enterprise, is as corrupt a thing as is around. And of course, I've been talking about this for decades, but you might find out more information if the studies exist. Then I think if he's allowed to live, RFK can get him. I think. Because I think he really does care about this stuff. And I.
What is it? Can't even wash my hands?
It's way too collectivist for me. So, can a novelist, a creative person, a philosopher like myself, can we write a novel accurately and emotionally and morally portraying an ideal society without a violation of human nature? Because, I mean, a lot of people write stories about a perfect world with the unfortunate aspect that requires a complete and total violation of human nature. If only people weren't tribal, if only people weren't motivated by profits, if only people blah 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 blah, right? Well, what if human beings don't need to be changed, but the system needs to align with virtue and human nature? Well, that of course is the basic premise of my novel, The Future, and I hope that you will check it out. It's free, and it's free in large part due to the lovely donors. So, yeah, it's very powerful. It is very powerful to write the world that I so desperately want to raise. Just a consummation to that. It is agony to exist conceptually close to the perfect world, and knowing that it's going to be hundreds of years until it has a chance is tough, and knowing that barriers to the perfect world is not human nature, it is not coercion, it is simply, the barrier to the perfect world is simply people's belief in things that are false. That's all. People stop believing in things that are false, we could have a beautiful world this time next year. So, we must be patient. Errors take a long time to exit stage left these days. Alright. So Punto says, I found reading or listening to the present and the future, these two novels, I got a lot of ideas and perspectives in philosophy. Think more than any podcast or non-fiction book I have. Seeing the ideas and characters really makes a difference. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, the future belongs to the best storytellers. Sadly not the most rational, but to the best storytellers. And unfortunately, the left are very good at telling stories. That's propaganda. I get over that. They're very good at telling stories. And it's funny, because I will regularly see on social media people complaining that like earthy art coming from the right. And again, I would specifically say that on the right, but where's the art coming from? They're anti-leftists. The leftists have dominant power at the moment, so that needs to be opposed. And nobody ever mentions minorities. Nobody ever mentions my novels. And I get it. I love writing novels. I'm working on another one at the moment. Oh man, I wrote some of the best dialogue I've ever written 2 days ago. Like honestly, just crackerjack dialogue about a breakup of a romantic relationship based upon betrayal. It's like, how people avoid the topic and then it just drops like an MOAB in the conversation. It had me on the edge of my seat and I was writing it. That's how vivid and real it feels to me. I feel like I'm transcribing and I can see every freckle on the characters' faces. So good. Maybe we'll do some of it later. Alright. Especially peaceful parenting. Yeah. Did you know Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire? I was trying to explain this. This is from Milo, Milo, novelist, and Nero.
sales, and how much were they? Like, what was the total aggregate of the market? What was the biggest year? Ringtone sales. So you used to buy 7 different ringtones. Number one that came automatically with your phone. So what was the biggest year for ringtone sales? And how much was it? Like, I gotta tell you, I've never bought a ringtone in my life. I don't think so. I think maybe I bought 1 or 2 different backgrounds for like $1.50 when I was farting around on a phone once, but I never bought a ringtone. Although I've often wanted to replace my when I call my wife to have it be honey, 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 until her eyes just explode. That it would, because she wouldn't think that I'm calling her. She'd just think I'm in the next room and need something. Honey, honey. Just play that over and over, and no court would convict you of strangulation. So people are guessing 2006, $1 million. 2012, $100 million. 2003, no, not correct. The biggest year for ringtone sales was 2007, and it was American $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. Baby, you just ain't sitting in nothing yet. There's something you're never gonna forget. Now, that was a joke song actually put out by a band with Turner Overdrive. They just found later and released it, became their biggest thing. Their biggest thing. Crazy. So, do you have kids or yourself in university, or do you have any sort of portal, nether region window to what's going on in academia at the moment? Because, well, if you do, it's pretty wild. Steve McGuire on X wrote this. For higher education, AI's takeover is a full-blown existential crisis. College is just how well I can use ChatGPT at this point. I think we are years or months probably away from a world where nobody thinks using AI for homework is considered cheating. It isn't considered cheating is new. But now, as one student put it, the ceiling has been blown off. Who can resist a tool that makes every assignment easier with seemingly no consequences? Massive numbers of students are going to emerge from university with degrees and into the workforce who are essentially illiterate. The humanities are rising in particular, becoming an anachronistic art elective like basket weaving. Many teachers now seem to be in a state of despair. Every time I talk to a college student about this, the same thing comes up. Every time I talk to a colleague, I guess the professors about this, the same thing comes up. Retirement. When can I retire? When can I get out of this? This is what we're all thinking now. And the Intelligencer wrote, this is from James DeWash, everyone is cheating their way through college. ChatGPT has unraveled the entire academic project. And it's funny because on my word processor, when I'm writing, a little bubble thing pops up and I can help you with that. It's like, get me behind me, Satan. Would you like a rant? And would the rant be on a 1 to 10? On a 1 to 10 scale? I don't know, as my voice is repaired, my ear is repairing, I don't know whether it would be too startling for you all to have a vivid and passionate rant. This might be a tear the hat off the head rant. Alright? 10, 5, 11, 1.5, but that's very specific. Right. Oh, the poor professors. Yeah, oh, Pia, are you going to actually have to try and figure out whether your students can think or not? Are you actually going to have to get back to maybe oral education of your students? Are you going to somehow die from not picking up your $250,000
There's a stripper in that van.
Sloughing off
Delivering dreams.
Point pen essays on your teacher's assistants while you prepare yourself for yet another fuck you and run AI for his introductory programming classes. Just dumps the prompt into ChatGPT and hand in whatever it's better. By his rough math, AI wrote 80% of every essay he turned in. At the end, I put on the finishing touches. I just insert 20% of my humanity, my voice, into it. He was born in South Korea. Ah, yes. Those South Koreans. Totally typical of people who cheat in schools. I remember many years ago, there were stay in school kids, and it was a young Asian girl who was like dropping out. Like, ah, yes. The Asian girls just forming their own gangs and dropping out of school all the time. Anyway, it's just natural, right? Lee was born in South Korea, grew up outside Atlanta. Should be Atlantis, but we go with Atlanta. Where his parents ran a college prep consulting business. They said he was admitted to Harvard early in his senior year of high school. At the university, recipients of Harvard, he was suspended for sneaking out during an overnight field trip before graduation. Wow. A year later, he applied to 26 schools and didn't get into any of them, so he spent the next year at community college before transferring to Columbia. His personal essay, which turned his white road to higher education into a parable for his ambition to build companies, was written with help from ChatGPT. When he started at Columbia as a sophomore this past September, he didn't worry much about academics or his GPA. Most assignments at college are relevant. They're applicable by AI, and they're just no interest in doing them. While other new students fretted over the university's rigorous core curriculum, described by the school as intellectually expansive and personally transformative. Eventually, they used AI to come up with that marketing shit too. They used AI to breeze through with minimal effort. When I asked him why he had gone through so much trouble to get to Ivy League University only to offload all the learning to a robot, he said, "Well, it's the best place to meet your co-founder and your wife." In January 2023, just 2 months after OpenAI launched ChatGPT, a survey of 1,000 college students found that nearly 90% of them had used the chatbot to help with homework assignments. I suppose the other 10% was lying. In its first year of existence, ChatGPT's total monthly visitors steadily increased month over month until June, when schools let out for the summer. Traffic began over the summer of 2024. Professors and teaching assistants increasingly found themselves staring at essays filled with clunky robotic phrasing that, though grammatically flawless, didn't sound quite like a college student or even a human. 2.5 years later, students at large state schools like the Ivy's liberal arts schools in New England, universities abroad, professional schools, and community colleges are relying on AI to ease their way through every facet of their education. Generative AI chatbots, ChatGPT, but also Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, Microsoft Copilot, and others take their notes during class, devise their study guides and practice tests, summarize novels and textbooks, and brainstorm, outline, and draft their essays. STEM students are using AI to automate their research and data analysis, and to sail through dense coding and debugging assignments. College is just how well I can use ChatGPT at this point. A student in Utah recently captioned a video of herself copy and pasting a chapter from Genocide and Mass Atrocity textbook into ChatGPT. That's what I'm doing. Just check this. Once the chatbot had outlined Wendy's essay, provided her with a list of topic sentences and bullet points of ideas, all she had to do was fill it in. Wendy delivered a 95-page paper at an acceptably tardy 10:17 a.m. When I asked her how she did on the assignment, she said she got a good grade. "I really like writing," she said, sounding strangely nostalgic for her high school English class the last time she wrote an essay unassisted. Honestly, she continued, "I think there's beauty in trying to plan your essay. You learn a lot. You have to think, oh, what can I write in this paragraph? Or what should make a thesis be?" But she'd rather get good grades. An essay with ChatGPT, it's like it just gives you straight up what you have to follow. You just don't really have to think that much. People like thinking. Thinking just gets you punished. Right? Just gets you punished. That's all. Where's the guy teaches me? Brainiac. Apple polisher. performance. He said he was surrounded by people who seemed to skate through life. He ended up joining the military instead. He's skating and just getting pushed. Joe says, I'm tipping next week. Thank you. freedomain.com/connect to help out the show. At least in the US, we need to get government out of the loan business and allow student loans to be dischargeable in bankruptcy. The free market will take care of the rest. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The leftists need the universities because if you get people to pay for their own propaganda, it's fantastic. No, not going to happen. Also, imagine what it would be like to be the last guy who still had to pay for his loans, and the next guy doesn't, or the next guy gets refused them because he doesn't have to pay the back rents. So you don't have to pay them in. I mean, it's not going to happen, right? Denise, nice to see you, milady. She says, I just graduated my PhD in biochemistry this past Friday. Congratulations. I think that's wonderful. Biochemistry, if I remember correctly. I've always thought I'd be a researcher having my own lab, but I've recently decided that being in industry is a better choice than academia because of how bad everything is currently. Pray for me. It's a huge shift in my life in that sphere. Yeah, well, science in government and academia has just turned into conformist superstition, non-reproducible stuff. So it's just terrible. Somebody says, my customers are now using ChatGPT to generate images for interior decorating purposes, visualizing how various options work with their space. It works surprisingly well, quite handy. Oh yeah, like if you go to ChatGPT and you upload the image of a room and you say, what would go best in here? It's pretty good, right? You're the best, Steph. Thank you. It's actually STEFAN, but I appreciate that. All right, hit me with a Y if you're on a weight loss journey. Are you on any kind of weight loss journey? I want to know. I want to know. It's hard to imagine I wouldn't have used ChatGPT in college, honestly. Well, that's interesting. Most of you on some kind of weight loss journey. Always. Oh, yeah. So, I haven't weighed myself in a while. I weighed myself today. I don't weigh myself at home. I don't really trust scales at home. But in a supermarket not too far from where I am is an actual physical scale, which I trust. For whatever reason. If it's digital, I just assume it's mostly nonsense. But I did weigh myself. Now, at my maximum, I was 225 pounds or so. And what did I just weigh in at? 225 at my max. There's a picture of me camp-coated at some meetup. Yes. Well, not kind of bloated, just chunky, just overweight. Just overweight. You got it, Alan. 180. Yeah, so I'm down 45 pounds from my max. Now, I mean, it's not the most honorable weight loss. I've just been concerned about my ear and my hearing, and I've been concerned about tinnitus and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I just don't particularly eat when I'm concerned or waiting for things to settle, because I'm 3-month healing process. I think I'm like 7 weeks in, so. My voice is certainly better. Like, I can speak better without it hurting in my ear, but it is still, the tinnitus is there, for sure. For sure. But, yeah, the doc says it'll settle down quite a bit, too. So, yeah. So, yeah, people are 37 pounds down. You're jogging right now as I listen to Free Domain. Oh, good. Good. No, frankly, I should gain some weight. I'm the other type. Effort to gain and maintain weight. Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. 1.5 milligrams of cagrilintide? What is that? Cagrilintide. I don't know what that is. Congrats, Steph. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I feel, because I became an older parent, I feel it's fairly important to stay pretty healthy. If that makes sense. I don't want to. I don't want to be a burden to my daughter when she's bad luck. Just some bad luck. Down 160 pounds over the past 13 years. Holy crap. Good for you, man. Good for you. Peptides. I don't know. I mean, what do? I do a little creatine. And CoQ2 enzymes, are they? A bit of lutein for the eyes. So, I don't, yeah, and a little creatine. That's about it. But yeah, just have an ailment that's alarming and you'll lose weight. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Alright. Okay, so you have questions, comments, donations, of course, very, very welcome. Is this true? I don't know. I'm gonna just, maybe I'll grok this. Maybe I'll grok this. But there was a note that 80% of eligible men are not dating. Is that true? Let me just see here. 80%. Yeah, 80% of eligible men. This is from Gender Studies for Men. John Davis, JDLLM. Large language model. 80% of eligible men are no longer dating. 80-20 rule. Pew Research study shows only 30% of U.S. men aged 18 to 29 are single and not dating. Okay, so yeah, it does seem a bit high. It does seem a bit high. It's true for you at the moment, yeah. James says my all-time max weight was around 315. Well over 15 years ago, down about 90 from that point, with a recent drop of 30 to 35 pounds in the last 2 years. Yes, we have seen that. James is turning into, we're painting the roses red.
Hospital with critical injury. In addition, investigators found a woman who had been pistol whipped. She has minor injuries.
Police are investigating what led up to the shooting. So far, no suspects are in custody. Anyone with information should call DeKalb Police or leave an anonymous tip on the free Tip 411 app.
It's 7:44. South Fulton County residents get a closer look at the new emergency room coming to their community. Grady officials tell a crowd of about 100 at Union City Town Hall that the new standalone ER will be as well equipped as the Grady ER.
We'll have CT machines. We will have X-ray machines. We will have our emergency bay areas. We will have areas where we can stabilize and do any type of procedures that need to be done.
Right now, there is no emergency room south of I-20 in Atlanta. The ER center is set to open in the fall of next year.
New research finds eating ultra-processed food every day could double your risk of getting Parkinson's disease. Researchers say a dozen servings each day of foods like soda, hot dogs, ketchup, and potato chips could speed up the disease's development.
Studies published in the journal Derelict, ultra-processed food accounts for more than half the calories that adults in the U.S. consume.
Delta Airlines is buying a 15% stake in WestJet, corporate partnership with Air. The total deal is worth $550 million, and Delta has plans to sell a portion of its stake to Air France-KLM.
Delta and Korean have been co-share partners with WestJet for years. The Atlanta-based airline says the new deal will expand customer benefits and strengthen connectivity between Canada and North America, Europe, and Asia, and beyond.
A spacecraft that the Soviets launched more than 50 years ago is about to come crashing down to Earth this weekend. A technical problem prevented Cosmos 482 from landing on Venus back in 1972. It's been in orbit and slowly decaying as the space is conserved.
All right, then coming up at 7:50, we will update the weekend weather and get your forecast on. Now we'll check for money, sponsored by
making $5 million. It's just one step in Republican efforts to find the money to pay for extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts. Paramount Global, that owns CBS and MTV, is seeing improved performance of its Paramount Plus streaming platform, and that helped Paramount with first quarter results that beat analyst estimates. Earlier in the day, Warner Brothers Discovery and parent HBO and CNN reported disappointing first quarter sales due to declines in traditional print TV subscriptions.
Some futures are facing both unchanged and weak this morning. Down very slightly. The Nasdaq is $18 up. Very slightly. Well, coming up in just a few minutes, when Atlanta's morning news continues, the Mother's Day weekend is not looking the best weather-wise, so we've got to pay special attention to the forecast and the trend. What's going to be in the forecast as well. And the next triple to traffic reports all the way to in just 2 minutes. I'm Chris Gino. Right ahead with all this morning. It's 7:48 now. That's a great time to get a guaranteed offer on your home from Mark Spain Real Estate at markspain.com.
For garage door repair, Metro Atlanta calls the real overhead door company of Atlanta. They're the ones with the red ribbon. They're the ones who've been here since 1935. Others try to copy the name but cannot match the level of service. The red ribbon means 85 years of trust and loyalty from Metro Atlanta homeowners. Always look for the red ribbon. It means you got the genuine, the original overhead door company of Atlanta. Just call 404 USA Door.
News is temporary, but your financial plan shouldn't be. I'm Wes Moss, and at Capital Investment Advisors, we're focused on helping retirees invest for income. This means building and managing a portfolio that delivers a steady stream of income, regardless of the scary headlines of the day. If you're ready to shift your focus from the headlines to your core pursuits in retirement, reach out to our team at yourwealth.com. That's yourwealth.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSB FM, and HD1 Doorbell, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
Mother's Day is this Sunday, and you could be running out of time to find the perfect gift. Except you're in Atlanta, and that means D. Geller and Son Jewelers has you covered. This is Jonathan Geller, and we've been making Mother's Day magic happen since 1939. This year, that means we just put out our best selection of clearance jewelry, like a pearl and diamond necklace that was $645 is now $345. Even a 1-carat mirror from natural diamond starts at
Right now, 66 degrees in Riverdale, it's 65 in Tucker, 58 degrees in
listener for sharing his thoughts and feelings. I did a call, gosh, was it yesterday? This woman, she is looking for a husband, and she is was a model, and modeled in like Japan and South Korea and New York and so on. And if you, it's going out to donors first, but if you, she agreed that if anybody wants to date her, that they could email me, host@freedomain.com. It's a very, very nice young woman. Very nice young woman. All right, this is from, I should know this. This is Fiverr Michael, Mika Kaufman. Hey team, I've always believed in radical candor, despite those who sugarcoat reality to avoid stating the unpleasant truth. I despise those. Sorry. The very basis of radical candor is care. You care enough about your friends and colleagues to tell them the truth, because you want them to be able to understand it, grow, and succeed. So here's the unpleasant truth. AI is coming for your jobs. Heck, it's coming for my job too. This is a wake-up call. It does not matter if you are a programmer, designer, product manager, data scientist, lawyer, customer support rep, salesperson, or a finance person, AI is coming for you. You must understand that what were once considered easy tasks will no longer exist. What were considered hard tasks will be the new easy, and what were considered impossible tasks will be the new hard. If you do not become an exceptional talent at what you do, a master, you will face the need for career change in a matter of months. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not talking about your job at Fiverr. I'm talking about your ability to stay in your profession, in the industry. Are we all doomed? Not all of us, but those who will not wake up and understand the new reality fast are unfortunately doomed. What can we do? Well, first of all, take a moment, let this sink in. Drink a glass of water, scream hard in front of a mirror if it helps you. Now relax. Panic hasn't solved problems for anyone. Let's talk about what would help you become an exceptional talent in your field. Study, research, and master the latest AI solutions in your field. Try multiple solutions and figure out what gives you superpowers. By superpowers, I mean the ability to generate more outcomes per unit of time with better quality per delivery. Programmers, code, cursor, customer support, tickets, intercom, fin, Senti-Sum, lawyers, contracts, Lexis plus AI, Legora, etc. Find the most knowledgeable people on our team who can help you become more familiar with the latest and greatest in AI. Time is the most valuable asset we have. If you're working like it's 2024, you're doing it wrong. You're expected and needed to do more faster and more efficiently now. Become a prompt engineer. Google is dead. LLM and Gen AI are the new basics, and if you're not using them as experts, your value will decrease before you know what hit you. Get involved in making the organization more efficient using AI tools and technologies. It does not make sense to hire more people before we learn how to do more with what we have. Understand the company strategy well and contribute to helping it achieve its goals. Don't wait to be invited to a meeting where we ask each participant for ideas. There will be no such meeting. Instead, pitch your ideas proactively. Stop waiting for the world or your place of work to hand you opportunities to learn and grow. Create those opportunities yourself and vow to help anyone who wants to help themselves. If you don't like what I wrote, if you think I'm full of shit, or just an asshole who's trying to scare you, be my guest. And disregard this message. I love all of you and wish you nothing but good things, but I honestly don't think that a promising professional future awaits you if you disregard reality. If, on the other hand, you understand deep inside that I'm right, I want all of us to be on the winning side of history. Join me in a conversation about where we go from here as a company and as individual professionals. We have a magnificent company and a bright future ahead of us. We just need to wake up and understand that it won't be pretty or easy. It will be hard and demanding, but damn well worth it. This message is food for thought. I've asked Shelley to free up time on my calendar in the next few weeks so that those of you who wish to sit with me and discuss your future can do so. I look forward to seeing you. Yours, Micha, my mitochondria, whatever. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Micha. Did that call-in model ever go to Dubai? No, she did not. She did not, although that is a very reasonable question.
complex question in a few words. I'm going through a difficult divorce. My ex-wife has taken the kids. Should I concentrate on being close to the kids and live in an area that makes me weaker financially and less of a support circle? Or should I set up where I'm stronger and prepare a space for the kids to come in when the time is right? You've got to tell me how old the kids are. It's one thing if they're 17, it's one thing if they're 4. That's what I don't know. I'm really, like, obviously I can't tell you what to do. You're aware of that, right? You're aware of that. With a divorce that is contentious, 13 and 15, well, how can they take the kids? Don't they get a choice? They get a choice at that age, don't they? Don't they have some say in where they go? I don't know that they can just get taken, but again, I'm no lawyer, so I don't know. Don't tell me where you are, but I don't know that you can just take the kids, can you? I just don't know. So, it's tough to know. There are certainly stories of men who've tried to pour everything into a bad divorce and lose just about everything. Sanity, finances, access to kids, money, of course, right? It's just brutal. On the other hand, if you bail when the kids might need you and you might have access to them, then you've left something important behind. In my view, just absolutely personal opinion, no prescription to action. In my view, I sort of try and put myself in this kind of position because I've had a number of calls with people about this, quite a number of calls with people about this kind of topic. If your wife is really hostile, it's going to be really difficult, unpleasant, and you're basically going to have to bite your tongue, not tell the truth, and be kind of emasculated for the next couple of years till your kids are adults. 5 years till your 13-year-old is an adult, right? Then, I mean, all they see is a kind of broken guy biting his tongue, ducking legal blows from the ex, from their mom. That's probably not very inspiring. The other option, and again, I don't know what you should do. I'm not in any way telling you what to do, but another option is put up stakes, do your best, try and stay in touch, go start a new family, and get it right this time. Pick the right moment, get it right. Thank you, Durbin. freedomain.com/donate. Yeah. It's you know, do you pour yourself into a hostile situation where you have no control when you're facing a very aggressive person who's very lawyered up? I don't know. Or do you say, okay, well, this up, stay around for the kids as best I can, ready and be available, but I can't have any needs here because I'm just going to get messed up. And do I try and figure out where I went wrong and try and figure out how I can get it right with the next family? I don't know the answer. Is it worth being around kids if you're just kind of broken and frightened and have to bite your tongue about everything? I don't know. I mean, obviously you want to be around your kids as best you can, but I don't know. I mean, maybe things will work out with your ex and you can find a more reasonable accommodation between you. Maybe that can happen, I don't know. But if it stays, you know, I would have, I mean, this may be a personal failing of mine, so I could be completely wrong about all of this, but I don't let my kids, or don't let my daughter see me in a humiliated or bullied position. You know, once or twice over the years, someone has come up kind of aggressive towards me, and I'll just push back hard. Will not be intimidated, will not be bowed down, will not be cat down. I'll just push back hard. I mean, if I remember
great for your kids to see you getting pushed around. And if that's the situation with your eggs, I don't know, but you know, there's other answers rather than just hang around and get beaten up. You know, because your kids are going to have questions, and if you can't tell the truth, they'll know deep down that you're lying, right? And it's going to be really tough because they may not know for years as to why or what's happening. So, who knows? All right. Any other last questions? Try to make this 143rd executive order to ban the gain-of-function research in China. I don't think 100%. But yeah, the rhinos, right? You got to get this stuff out of executive orders and into the actual law. I don't know if they're really working that hard to do that. Because all these executive orders can just be undone by the next president. Somebody's introduced legislation to try and undo the Patriot Act. Good luck with that. Now, Jeffrey Sachs, interesting guy, intelligent guy, obviously, good communicator. I think he wants one world government or whatever, right? So, Kyra goes to the Jeffrey Sachs said the U.S. government did experiments testing on bats they had at the government laboratory in Montana. The virus worked on the bats, but there was a problem. The U.S. had different bats to the ones in Southeast Asia, so they sent the virus to Wuhan, China to test on their bats. Now, of course, yeah, I don't know. Like, who knows if this is true? He seems very convinced. I don't know if he's compromised. I don't know if it's true. I think there's definitely were. I mean, I think that's pretty established that there were bioweapons labs in Ukraine, many of them, I think. And that would have given Russia some pause for sure.
This storm that's so different from everything else that's been Charlie, is the fact that today everything was so calm. Right now, everybody in town has just been saying how nobody knows what's going on because it's lingering for so long.
Yes.
We don't know what's happening.
Yes, I know. And then it gets late at night, it gets dark, and it really gets scary. If you're sitting at home alone, it's scary.
And right now, it's the winds are starting to pick up, the rain's starting to come in. You get those, in Florida, you get like low clouds. You get very low clouds that move fast. You get the higher clouds that sit up, and you can see the low clouds moving, the ones that are sort of the bands that come across. And the winds are coming in from the north. So you know, if the winds are coming from the north and we're on the west coast of Florida, then that means where the storm is seems to be above us. So it's just the time that it's taking for this to happen. People are just waiting for something to go on. They're waiting. Charlie came so quick.
Yes, this one's so slow. It's torture.
It is. It's unbelievable. And right now, it's sort of agonizing.
They're actually, they're actually talking about it taking days for the eye to make it from one side to the other.
I could see that this storm could be worse than Charlie in the fact that the rain, if this takes 36 hours, let's say, just to get across the state, the rain that's going to come here, there's no place for this rain to go. The ground is so saturated, there's nowhere for the water to go. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Listen, buddy, I got to go. We're out of time. Thank you very much. We'll continue to take calls from Florida in the second half of this hour.
Now it begins. Now that you're gone, I see. I know.
5033. From west of the Rockies, call Art at 800-618-8255. International callers may reach Art Bell by calling your in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll-free 800-893-0903. From coast to coast and worldwide on the internet, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
Here it is, as of 1 a.m., or about 35 minutes ago or so. It was, the Hurricane Shirley was at 27.2 north and 80.2 west near Seawalls Point, Florida. So it's actually coming ashore at that point. Seawalls Point, Florida, with winds of 105 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 7 miles an hour. Pressure's 2835, an estimated 960 millibars. And this baby is moving slowly. Remember, we're reserving the first-time caller line and east of the Rockies for people in Florida only. Trying to get a taste of what's going on. More of that in a moment. Let's get right back to it if we can. The first-time caller line east of the Rockies is reserved for people in the zone, wind and rain, and frankly, hurricane Texas. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, where are you?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. From 610 WIOD.
I was hoping that WIOD would carry the program for this exact reason, because I know it covers up in that area very well, so we are on the air there. Cool.
Well, actually, tonight I had to listen to another area station online because they're doing all the weather programming.
I thought they might be doing that. All right. So what's up where you are?
Well, we're right now we're getting a lot of wind and a lot of rain. I mean, we're just outside of that real bad area. Like, I'm just a little bit south of West Palm Beach.
Right, so you're close.
Yeah, I'm
You're also getting a lot of the rain bands as they come swinging around.
Well, they're saying anywhere between 12:30 and 2 o'clock, and it's almost 2 o'clock now, so we should be getting a real bad one any time now.
Oh, that's when they're predicting the very worst of it is going to occur?
Yeah, for my area, yeah.
So you're choosing, I take it then, to stay awake through this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm a night person anyway. I listen to your show almost every single night.
But you couldn't go, like, crawl into bed and just ignore it.
No way. There's too much noise. There's some metal framing around the outside of my house, and it's rattling like hell. So
yeah, you don't go to sleep during that. All right.
It's really hard.
All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate it. Do you have power there now, by the way?
Oh yeah. Power here is fine, and it's weird because we have the above ground power lines, and you would think that they'd go first. And my sister lives about 20 minutes north of where I'm at.
No kidding.
So it's funny.
And not funny at the same time. If you lose power in Florida, you're in a very humid, dark right now, and kind of scary environment. I mean, you can only put yourself in the shoes of the people that we're hearing. I mean, this thing is raging around you in the middle of the night. It's going on 2 o'clock in the morning in Florida, and that's really frightening. It's a frightening situation. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, I'm over here by 95, by Palm City over here.
Oh man, you're in about the worst place you can be, sir. Where are you?
Yeah, they got the traffic stop now. I had to deliver down here in Samara Beach a trailer load of water down there. I guess they needed some water down there for the shelters over there. But they told me to get out of there, but now they got everything stopped, the wind's blowing. I don't know what's going on.
So you're in a truck. You're in an 18-wheeler.
Yeah, I'm pulled over now. They got the whole traffic stuff over here by Highway 609. I'm over here off of 95.
Well, tell me, is there any concern on your part? I mean, you're not broadside to the wind, are you?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of sideways, but everybody else is all over the road, so it's not too bad.
I'm not sure exactly what it would take. I guess if a truck like yours is empty and you're broadside to the wind, I wonder what kind of wind it takes to actually tip over a truck like that.
Oh yeah, you see them all the time tipped over on 60, 70 mile an hour winds. It's blowing pretty good over here now.
Well, it's easily going to get to that, or even worse, where you are. So are you at all worried about, like, getting tipped over?
Well, I'm going to do my best to get over here to this rest area and put my butt to the wind.
Yeah, put your butt to the wind is right.
Yeah.
Well, so in other words, all traffic now is stopped.
Yeah, all traffic stopped. They got lights going out here. Everybody's running around. They don't know what's going on over here. It's crazy. I guess it's just somewhere like some seawall point or something that's coming in, and I got to get north. I got to get going.
Yeah, where are you headed, and where are you coming from, and where are you going?
I delivered down there at Riviera Beach. I'm going up there to Jacksonville now, just to get out of here. They told me I could probably make it, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
It's going to be a long wait in the night for you, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Well, all right, get yourself then in a safe place behind that truck stop if you can.
Oh yeah, I will.
Butt to the wind. All right, thank you very much. That would be scary, to be in an 18-wheeler right in the middle of that. And, you know, there are a couple of spots. He was not far from Fort Pierce. A couple of spots there near Fort Pierce where they've measured wind already well over 100 miles an hour on the ground. So, yeah, that would be really, really frightening. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Where are you, please?
North Sarasota, Florida.
In Florida. Okay, welcome. How is it where you are?
We're okay here right now. I wanted to wrap this up. I was just looking forward to your program this weekend because it's comforting. I thought, well, Art Bell will be on Saturday night and Sunday night.
It looks that way, yes.
Right. But I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the nation. After Charlie, I was one of many volunteers in a farming community called Arcadia, which was just totally devastated by Charlie.
Yes.
And the nation responded with their hearts. And we had all kinds of bottled water.
America is a, thank you, very generous place. When people get in trouble, we really do help each other out. And that was for now as well. But you know, it is my view that we're going to be facing an increasingly violent weather situation, that we're going to be facing increasing numbers of storms that are going to end up on average being larger storms. But you know my views on the weather. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Art. I'm on my way down to the hurricane.
You're what?
We're on our way. There's a hurricane party moving south.
You're going to have, you're a hurricane party? In other words, you're actually traveling to the hurricane to have a party?
Yes, sir. I'm also in the punk rock band. We're going to film a video while the hurricane is going on.
You are, huh?
Yes, sir.
So it's part-time filming, part-time partying?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Business and pleasure, same time there.
Yes. There have been stories, you know, of people deciding to party through a hurricane that haven't made out so well.
Yes, I've lost 2 or 3 friends that we.
Laboratory of the Laboratories for Fundamental Research is one of the world's experts on the practical applications of remote viewing and other aspects of extraordinary human functioning. For almost 20 years, he was the research director and chairman of the Mobius Society. The laboratory carried out research into remote viewing, creativity, therapeutic intent,
other areas of human performance. He is the author and co-author of over 30 technical papers, 4 books, I've got them listed here, numerous magazine pieces. He is the editor of the Schwartz Report, an international daily publication. He is former special assistant for research and analysis, the new chief of naval operations, editor of Sea Power magazine, staffer of National Geographic Society. Wow! He is the founder of the Society for Anthropology of Consciousness, the International Remote Viewing Association, and the International Society for the Study of Subtle Energies and Energy Medicine, and is a member of the Parapsychology Association. That's quite a list, Stephen. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Art. How are you?
That really is a pretty good list there.
Well, I'm getting older.
Yes. Well, aren't we all? All right. I guess the interesting place to begin is actually, a lot of times I take the notes here and I just, toss them away, but I like this. Something is happening in science, it says. We have scientists on all the time here, and as I listen to them, it's clear something is beginning to change in science. It's become extremely obvious to me. The world is beginning to look a little different, and I guess that's a focal point for you too. In other words, you realize we have this monstrous change on hand, huh?
Yes, we're going through I think a substantial change in the way we view the world as working. It's happened before, in the past we went through for a number of, up until the 19th century, the Bible was the principal scientific document, and the Genesis meta paradigm, I guess that's the way to put it, was the principal way of looking at the world, and it's changed. Although, let it be said that, not everybody changes. 43% of the American public still believes that the world was created 6,000 years ago in 6 days. So
I know
it's, but we are changing. I think, particularly in science, there is a new perspective.
Is this emerging new perspective directly in opposition to, for example, Genesis, since you mentioned that?
Actually,
that sounds like a yes, and you don't want. It sounds like a yes, and you don't want to say it.
No, well, actually, to tell you the truth, I have to think about that because, in a sense, what's emerging is a worldview in which all life is interconnected and interdependent, and so at a certain level, that is very biblical. In terms of, did the world get created 6,000 years ago?
Well, yeah, but it's not specifically biblical, really. Not really. I mean, it's sort of just maybe biblical in scale, but not biblical in a literal sense.
Well, almost all although we are now talking about things that are defined by science, that's the interesting point, is that science and ancient wisdom traditions, science and Buddhism, have a great deal to say to one another.
How about science and Christianity? Do they talk a lot? No, I don't think so.
Well, no. Actually, let me read. No. There is within Christianity, as there is in every major tradition, an esoteric, a spiritual pilgrimage path is different than the sort of outer involvement. So yes, as a matter of fact, within Christianity there is a mystical tradition and always has been.
Well, I've interviewed a lot of biblical sorts, many of them national leaders in the category, who absolutely believe that dinosaurs and men walked together on the earth. Steve.
I know. It's astonishing. It's a form of it's a willful decision to reject evidence, however compelling.
Well, we've always had it. The earth is flat, right? Until it was made to be known to be round beyond all shadow of any doubt whatsoever. Nobody actually fell off the earth, despite rumors at the time. They didn't do it. So, I don't know. Does this mean that What do you think it ultimately means for Christianity, Stephen? Does it mean that we have to have some wild interpretation of Genesis so that we can live with both science and what's written in the Bible, or how's it all going to settle out? Does Christianity have to, in effect, be rewritten?
I think that Christianity is and always has had two tracks. The Pauline track that on Peter I found.
Where did it go? Good Lord. It's a chick from that Black Sabbath album cover. You look like Stevie Nicks.
Stand back, stand back.
Stand over there. Steven Nicks now, probably. Did you say there's an owl out there?
An owl.
Is it currently an owl? Jesus. Quit eating my grass, you stupid bird. I gotta make tacos. Love a Pete. Oh my God, Jesus Christ,